Okay, we're live now. Okay, this is awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm here with my friend and fellow board member of the Rainbow Pro Life Alliance, Marcos Laris. Did I say your name right?
Yeah, Lares.
Oh, it's Laris. Laris. Okay. Yeah. So, tell us about yourself first, Marcos.
So I am, well, I guess I'll start with, I was born in El Paso. I live and born and raised in El Paso. I still live here. Um, I, pursued my bachelor's degree in, genetics and biotechnology. And that's where I became more involved in the pro-life movement when I started my Students for Life group. Um, so I'm like the president and then founder there. That group is still going on today. Mm, they still have events and stuff. Um, After that, I worked in postpartum um, as a HUC, which is like a CNA slash office secretary kind of thing. Um, so I worked in postpartum, and then I also did my internship at the county medical examiner's office um, at the morgue. So it was just kind of like to get me immersed into like the medical field because I'm really interested in it. Um, and then I pursued my master's degree in biomedical science. Um, and so now I'm going to medical school. So that is a little gist of my thing, but I guess when it comes to the pro life movement, I kind of turned away from the activism, like the full blown uh, marching, chanting, like full blown like I guess like get GA like get the fuck out or something like that. I would say like get like um full blown activism. I would say like marching on the streets, like debating people, things like that. I really don't do that anymore, just because I try not to bring too much attention to myself when it comes to it, because I am in kind of like a not so well accepting environment where like these views are very much tolerated. But I still like when I'm asked about things, and being in this organization and like being able to like give my like I guess opinion and like advice. I think it's important, that we like I guess like have like a more like universal position when it comes to like the life issue. I feel like the life issue is very important, but there's a lot of things that inhibit that progress. And so what that looks like is very different for everybody. We live in a political climate where even right now, supposedly, like, this is supposed to be a pro-life administration, but I think it's far from it. Just
Agreed.
because so many things that, yeah, the laws, you can ban abortion as much as you want, but it doesn't change the fact that people will still seek it. And so I think that that's the bigger issue, is that why people are seeking it. And so I think that those are the questions that we need to bring up. And as a future medical professional, I want to be able to kind of break down those barriers and address those issues, especially those systemic issues that arise from like thinking about it. Because that's like not my goal is not to just our goal is not to ban abortion. Like that's not what it is. I mean, our goal should be to make it something so unthinkable. Um, and so I think for that to happen, certain things need to change. Our system of government needs to be more family friendly, and I feel like we're far from it. Even like when this like supposedly this organization is like very like family centered, I think it's far from it. Again, the policies don't match the cause. And so, yeah, the Supreme Court did overturn Dobbs, but that doesn't stop states from implementing abortion policies and things like that. And so, when we do ban abortion, what's next, right? It doesn't just stop there. There's things that need to happen. And so, I mean, I guess we can dive on a little bit into those views, but I'll just stop there and let you
Well,
answer. And
well,
go
yeah,
ahead, you have.
actually, I agree with a lot of what you said there because here's the thing is what I have noticed. This is just what I've noticed. I'm no expert politically, but I see debates. I see fights on Facebook. I've seen more stuff. I've been trying to take a social media break right now, actually, because it's just getting to me. But what I have noticed is that when people talk about family friendly or they talk about pro life, some of these politicians, what they mean is heterosexual, straight, married couples with who are rich and white and have lots of children. That's what it seems to me like because if you just take, for example, the treatment of immigrants and anybody Hispanic that they're going to assume is an illegal immigrant, even if they are legal or whatever. You know what I'm saying? There's that, and there's also the anti-LGBT laws. You know, messing up the passports or not allowing passports to transgender and intersex people, and restricting their ability to travel, which is also coinciding with some people who are trying to flee the country of the United States of America and trying to find a country that's safer for them. So there's certain minority groups who are being killed by so-called pro-life politicians. And so I would not call this a pro-life administration, in my opinion, because like you, I agree that abortion is one aspect in this whole thing. And I'm not like a major activist where I go on streets debating people either. But I feel like it, I feel like basically there's very little point in protecting the lives of the unborn if those same people are going to be killed later by systemic issues of poverty, starvation, homelessness, school shootings, you name it, you know, whatever that is, because people have reduced pro life to just being anti abortion. And I agree with you that the goal should not be just banning abortion, but rather, I think that if abortion is banned, that'll be a consequence of other things that need to take place first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess I guess I agree and kind of disagree. I mean, I think we can make laws to you know, protect certain groups. But I also think our you know, our system needs to catch up. Like it's impossible, like it's obscure to me that we are the only developed nation where maternal health care is severely underfunded. Like prenatal and postpartum care should be free. Um, I don't think
Yeah,
it should be something that um, is debated. Like when we waste like almost like our entire defense budget, you know, is like I mean we spend millions, you know, and this is like in the hundreds. And
yeah,
when you know, I think maternal and post, you know, and this is just 41 days after delivery. Um, you know, I think I was looking up like how much that would cost in reference to other countries and stuff like that, and how much the United States would have to pay. And it's just like 89, close to like 89, I guess 89 million or something like that. And when you think about it, that's a small number because I mean we spend more in war every year, you know. So
yeah,
I mean if we were really concerned about the pro-life issue, well at least I would ask this administration is if you're really concerned about, you know, pro-life issues, then why aren't we funding maternal health care in America? Why do I have to go in and then come out with this medical debt? Like the biggest number reason for bankruptcy is medical debt in this country. And it's insane that something that we all benefit from is having people born. Like every children that is born is a benefit. Like these are people that are going to take care of other people. Like, right now our fertility rate is significantly low. It's beyond below replacement value. And this is something that we're going to have to deal with in the future. And the ramifications, we don't feel them now because we're so young, but you know, who's going to clean the butt of other people like when they can't, you know what I mean? So I mean that's I hate to say it, but it's something that we need to look at. Like abortion is a multifactorial issue, I would say. Like there's a lot of variables involved. There's like funding, like I mentioned, post and pre. Also there's paid family leave. Like these families, like they're losing time from work and they have no paid family leave. It's ridiculous that we expect people to work, 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 but when it comes to having a child, like they still need to work while they're having a child. This just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, you're
Ridiculous.
right. We don't have paid maternity or paternity leave. People
Yeah,
aren't getting
paid
their health
maternity.
care. Like what you're saying, and I couldn't agree more, that the amount that is spent on military and wars in foreign countries, like we're talking, there's
Exactly.
actually
The
billions. There's
most recent
actually
war,
billions spent,
like we can the most recent conflict, the Israel conflict. Like we've spent, and this is just from you know getting involved when Israel says that we need to get involved is like $8 trillion, basically, like within the span of like, less than 20 years. $8 trillion, like trillion, like with a T, it's not million, it's trillion with a T. It's insane that we
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, because here's the thing is, for
our
me,
country.
it's not about picking a side. It's not about picking a side who's right or wrong in a war or some conflict. It's
Hmm.
more about the fact that our tax dollars are going to build weapons to kill people in other countries.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, that same amount of money, much smaller amount of money than is used in war, could be used to give free healthcare to everyone in the US.
And maybe not necessarily like every single service, because I mean, even that can be debated. I mean, like the thing is that we're not having these conversations. What conversation is we're having is like the conversations that don't need to be having. Like, how much do we need to send to these X amount of countries? I'm like, when we're not okay, how do we like in order for you to be able to help someone else, you need to be good yourself, right?
Yeah.
So it's like like people in this country are suffering because they don't have the medical care that they need. Maternal mortality rate among developed nations, we're one of the highest. And it's ridiculous because we're the leaders, like we're the wealthiest nation in this world, and we have literally the highest. And when it comes to maternal mortality, like that's to me is very concerning because that is saying that we're not taking care of our people. Where's like when people voted for this person, America first, I see everything America last, quite frankly, because nothing about America first. It always seems to be Israel first, Ukraine first, everyone else first, and then
Yeah.
America dead last. And so when are we going to start talking about all these issues, right, that do matter, right? Like our women who are struggling, pre and postpartum, right? And then after that, they can't afford childcare, right? Because there's no paid family leave. So they have to take off of work, but then they have to go back to work. And it's this constant, and then there's Medicaid cuts, right? So there are cuts to like food assistance programs and
Yeah.
like Medicaid and Medicare. So like there's being cuts all over, and then research, also research is being underfunded, right? So we have a very multi-factored system, right? And like in reality, what I mean, if you care so much about the nuclear family, whatever that means,
Yeah.
then wouldn't you support policies that actually help that family? Like, where are these policies? Like, where are these policies? In reality, like,
Yeah.
we, like, no children should be going hungry in this country. And they
Right.
are.
I
We
know.
have,
See,
we
that's the
don't.
thing about it is, for example, yeah, but the like all the trillions of dollars being sent to other countries in wars over decades, that could be used to provide food and healthcare and all kinds of things for people. And there's just a few rich billionaires at the top in America. They're the richest in the world, but the rest of us people, we live in yes, our definition of poverty is still not as bad as some other countries, and I get that, but it's rough because I just think about it like with my financial situation and my debt and my living situation as just a single adult, and I think how much worse is this for people with more health problems who have kids and stuff like that. And I'd like, if I can't survive, I know other people can't. And so I
Exactly.
agree. Like there's a lot of things that we're not having the right conversations
Even
about.
if we don't get universal health care, let's say we don't. Let's say that's like too far fetched an idea, whatever. Like at least maternal health care should at least be something that we should be talking about because everyone benefits from someone being born. Like I have no idea. I know no one that's like, thank God my child was not born. Like you know what I mean? Like
Well,
it
those people exist, but
I mean, but in the common thing is like, thank God, like, my baby made it out healthy or something like that. Like, the thing is that, like, what I'm trying to say is that, like, reproduction, the normal act of producing a baby, having a child, and everything like that, like, how is that a burden to society? And that shouldn't be a burden. Like, that should be embraced. Like, there's other countries, there's other cultures, like, for example, in Mexico, um, we we have abortion, right? Like it's legal over there in some states or whatever, but people don't do it. People don't do it because they don't pursue it because the culture's different. Like we're raised differently. We appreciate huge numbers. Like we're bigger in numbers. That's what I'm trying to say. And so when it comes down to it, like yeah, people do have the choice over there in some states or whatever. The situation is more nuanced than anything. But the culture is very different. Like there's very family values, and we try to strive everyone. Everyone is very important. Everyone is valued. There's no one that's not valued, right? And that's why you have like this like kind of like indoctrination of like Western practices where like abortion is becoming more, you know, prominent in South and America and Central America, right? Like they're becoming more radicalized and things like that. But even then, the culture stays the same. Like our culture is very like life affirming, right? And so we don't really believe in those things, right? So when we come to America and we have this choice, right? That which I really don't think it's like much of a choice anyways. Like you either do it or you don't. Um and then like it's kind of like shoved down your throat, like almost like here, this is what you need to do. Because if you don't, then you're this or you're that. Um and that's far beyond the point. But like I said, there's no reason that we are the wealthiest country in the world and we having this problem. Um, in fact, we should having one of the lowest maternal mortality rates in the world, and yet we have one of the highest among developed nations. And so it's just to me that's a conversation that we need to have. If it's not universal healthcare at its full capacity, at least you know this part, this very, very small part that I believe inherently will cause less abortions, will lead to less abortions. Because I think when
yeah,
people, when you look at the Guttmacher Institute, like the research firm of the pro choice arm in this country, they have estimates, but like pretty much they ask women, like, why do you choose abortion? 75% answer because of financial burden. So if we're alleviating that burden, then that 75% should reduce, right? So we should only be worrying about 25%. And let's say what that 25% is, let's say 25% is, you know, sexual abuse. Maybe that's something else. We can have those conversations, right? But when we're having 75% of abortions, it's due to financial strain. It's like, what are we doing? It's like we know the answer, we're just not being pro-life about it. we're being selective and we're thinking, no, this is what I think is the right answer. And a lot of it is just like we already pay taxes anyways.
Yeah.
Like the government taxes us into oblivion. Um,
Yeah, that
and
that that's just
that
it.
don't they're the one that have the most money. So when I mean when you think about it, like that's why I'm just like 15% flat tax rate to everybody. Who cares? It doesn't matter what color skin you are. It doesn't matter if you're blue, black, green, yellow, black, whatever. Like you should be getting taxed. Like I mean, I that's what I think. Maybe that's a lot. I don't really know. I'm not an economics person or
Well,
what. Like
here's the thing. You're right because like I've looked at my pay stubs. I've looked at my pay stubs from Walmart, for example.
yeah, it's like
And
six. They
when I see that I'm paying $300 in taxes out of every paycheck, and I think about how much I if I wasn't being taxed that amount and I got to keep that amount, I would be using that to pay towards my debts of my student loans. So it's weird because the government is taking me away money from my paycheck that I would use to pay back the government for my student loans. So they're taking away the money I could have used to pay them back on my student loan. So it's really, really stupid. We are taxed into
well,
oblivion.
yeah, no, and when you think about it, I mean, the tax is fine. Like I really don't mind the tax, but if it's being used, like right now, the tax is so unfair because we're the ones being taxed and we're the ones that get the less out of it. Like I don't qualify for all these assistance programs. Like, and the thing is that I don't qualify because I don't make enough. Like, I make too much money alone, but then I don't make enough money when something like my arm breaks or like I have an injury or something like that. And so imagine being a mother where like, you're pregnant, you're literally like about to blow, and then you don't have things you don't have FMLA, you don't have, you can't take out leave. You need to be back within a month because depending on the job that you have, like they could or they could not, like, and then they have like enrollment deadlines. So like if you pass the enrollment deadline, you're kind of screwed. Like the American healthcare system in this country is mind blowing that we cannot, like, for the life of us, like fund things that actually matter and the things that will actually reduce abortion. Like things like this will actually reduce abortion. I am 100% for certain that they will. You know,
Yeah.
even if abortion access was like all across the board, this and that, whatever, what have you, if it was allowed, they would still reduce abortions because you have the means to like take care of somebody. Like you're not there like thinking, oh God, like where how am I gonna take care of this person? Like there's another mouth to feed. And like a lot of the times it's not even me being pro-choice. It's just like me understanding like, damn, like this woman has a lot going for her. You know what I mean? And it's not me like justifying her choice by any means, no, but it's also me being empathy and having empathy of like this government screws women over, like, and it's supposed to be the most pro-life government ever, like
Yeah.
Christians, like literally, um they go gaga over this. Like it's like Christian where, like it's like if there's a saying that goes is that there's no better love than Christian hate. And I think that speaks volumes because when you look at Christians, like I mean, I'm saying this like I'm more on like Christian nationalism, but
Yeah.
like you know what I'm saying. Like I don't mean to like I'm a Christian too. Like I believe in God, okay, but when it comes to Christian nationalism, it's like you ask them like, hey, like are you against abortion? Yeah, like why do you like I'm like okay, so like paid family leave. Why can't they take care of their own children? I'm like because maybe if billionaires were paying their fair share, um, they'd have money, but we don't. So why do they get the biggest tax cuts? Like that's the thing. It's like we're being taxed into oblivion, but they're not.
Yeah.
So
It's double standards.
yeah, like it's very skewed. And the reason abortion exists, partly because we have ingrained into our society. We don't fund families properly. and because we prefer a capitalistic system that exploits people. Like we can have capitalism, but a capitalism that is so unregulated to a point where it's like people are dying. It's like, no, there needs to be a change. Like we need to start having these conversations about maternal health care. Like that should be the number one thing because women don't have when you think about it, like this women is built for men. Like I mean this world is built for a man. Like this, and we have to realize that. Like when you go to work, you don't see lactation rooms. No. You see a restroom, that's it.
Yeah.
And then when you go to a bus stop, like if you start breastfeeding, like people look at you weird, you
Yeah.
know? And I'm like, and then they say you have to cover up. I'm like, do you cover yourself up when you eat? Hello?
Yeah, what's the difference? And
Like,
that's so funny because I know what you're talking about. Like people are
you know,
weird about that. I've
like
seen videos of people debating
modesty,
that.
modesty what? Like when I'm eating, I'm not being modest. I'm eating. Like it's food. Like,
Yeah,
hello. Like,
I'm.
this world is built for men, and that's the thing. We don't when we build things, we don't think about what women need. Like they're the only ones that bleed. Um, cisgendered women, they
Mhm.
bleed, and so, um, for that, like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, why aren't there, um, what do I say, like spaces for them? Like why aren't there like there's tax on period products and things like that? Why is there a tax on period products? um I guess you can
Yeah.
also have a debate about contraception, like why isn't it available for women? But there's I guess a list of like things like contraceptives like are abortifacient and things like that, and you can have that debate. But most contraceptives, like all they do is like, they stop exactly like they encourage safe sex intercourse, like so you won't get pregnant. But then you have like this religious context where it's like oh that's not how marriage is designed. I'm like, great. What if you're not religious? Like who cares? We need to have these conversations, but we're not having them because we don't really care. We don't really care to have these conversations. And quite frankly, like these conversations don't generate money. In fact, they take away money, but they take away money that we're already paying when in all sincerity. I mean, you don't even need to increase the taxes on people. You just need to slash unnecessary spending on other areas of the government, like the
Yeah.
defense budget, or like other, like why are we funding all these things? Like when this whole thing with like this person, the Doge or whatever. We were funding all these like insane programs. Some were good, which the ones that were good we should have kept, right? But some were like funding God knows what in Iran.
Yeah.
Like,
Or fund
it's like,
or for
what
example,
are
funding
like
animal agriculture.
Iran have to do with like like that's like saying like the moon is red and it's like located like, you know, I don't know, like where does that fit? You know what I mean? Like why are we no, it doesn't make sense. Like to me, it's like if there's unnecessary funding, let's cut that funding. But let's start funding things that actually matter, like things that will actually reduce abortion, and not putting like the excuses of like there's never money. Because guess what? For healthcare, there's never money, but for war, there is always money. There's always
Yeah.
money. We need wars. There's always money for wars. We
Yeah.
always have the money for the war, but when it comes to healthcare, oh, guess what? We don't have the money for that. Darn, we don't have the money. We're so close, but we don't have the money for that right now. Like that is
Yeah. And
insane.
and and
Like,
and, and if you think about it, another thing that's strange about war, besides the immense amount of money it costs, that like you said, we always seem to have money for war. There's also the fact that our people, our citizens who join the military end up getting killed in these wars and stuff too. And and now this might sound controversial, but
America.
I think that that the transgender military ban was a good idea, so that my people aren't going to be killed in a war. At least, of course, they'll be killed in
I,
other ways, but
I'm more of like the freedom of like if you want to die, by all means, there's a door. You know what I mean? Um, I have my own opinions. Like I mean, like on the whole thing, I'm like I think people should just if they want to do that, like I like on my family, I'm like very like don't do that because like the military doesn't treat you well. But but if they want to do that, I mean like I really don't care. Like what I also think is like also like the adoption reform in this country. Like
oh yeah,
you know, like the fact that you I mean I had parents like as patients from the UK. So they were a gay couple. And it's interesting because they had their surrogate and everything, which I'm not in favor of surrogacy again because I think surrogacy tends to open the door of exploitation of women. That they take advantage of a woman's vulnerable financial state, and so they profit off of that, right? And so I don't think that women should be like subdued to things like that, you know, just for money. And I don't think children are a commodity. But quite frankly, that's not my problem, right? Whatever. These patients, like they came, so they had a surrogate and everything. And then, you know, I also had this, lesbian couple, too, you know, but like when it comes to adoption, like, you know, they say, oh my gosh, like, you know, they're gonna, like, gays should not be able to adopt or whatever. LGBTQ folks should not be able to adopt because they're gonna groom them and make them, and I'm like, make them gay. And I'm like, my parents were straight and I came out gay.
I know, right?
My
Like
parents conservative to the bone. Like they were like we went to mass and everything. Trust me. Like I'm
yeah.
like if a kid is gay, they're gay because they're gay. Like
Well,
they're
I know you're right, Marcos, because all the gays I know had straight parents. Funny how that works.
and exactly and like when you think about it, like I mean, um like I think I saw a statistic or divorce rates and things like that. And gays, men and men, are amongst the lowest divorce rates. So heterosexual couples and lesbians have higher divorce rates. And I'm not to diss on my divas or out there, you know, but that's just a reality. Like we have more, you know, our family unit is more united when we do find each other, obviously. Um, but when it comes down to it, it's your your family can look different. Like if you don't, and then the thing is like why do I have to spend thousands of dollars adopting a child? Like the only requirement should be is that the child has a roof over their head, air conditioning, and food, and somewhere
Yeah.
to put food. Like I think that that's like the basic, a bed, you know, things like a checklist, you know, kind of like you have the means to take care of a child. Like, you know, like they have a bed, they have water, they have electricity, they have air conditioning, um, they have like all these needs, you know what I mean? And then no, some of these like administrative fees, like $10,000, like administrative fees. I'm like, that is crazy. Like
Yeah, basically
your
that's
profit, like
using the children to make
like
money. That's what's crazy, that use exploiting the children to make money off of people.
and then you have parents that actually want these children, and then you don't give it to them. Like, it's insane. I don't know. And then it's on both sides because, like, I mean, obviously, on both administrations, we haven't been able to get adoption reform because it's just not a priority. And it's never been a priority, quite frankly. I mean, when you think about it, like, these two-party system is, like, so vague. These parties, on one hand, destroy each other. They don't care about pro-life. They don't care about abortion. I mean, quite frankly, this president is very pro-abortion himself. Like, obviously, like he's said it. He's like, I don't agree with the Florida state abortion ban. Like, okay, that's all you need to know. He's the father of IVF, which he hasn't done anything for IVF, but he's the father of IVF. Um, which is also a very, you know, when you think about it on the terms of life, it's devastating, right? That you're literally, that's eugenics, like
Yeah.
in its whole transparency, because you're choosing and picking like, oh, which embryo is the most perfect for me, when in
Yeah.
reality you could have been a grade C, I could have been a grade D, hell, I could have been an F. Like imagine that, I could have been an F. Like imagine what grade you were, like you're graded based on, and like that's insane that you grade people like based on, that's insane. That is
Yeah,
literally,
I agree.
I
I've read about IVF and I don't like it, you
feel
know.
graded. So it's basically eugenics. Like if you're not perfect enough, you don't deserve to live. And it's insane, like when you think about it. But anyways, father of IVF, this person, whoever, um, I guess they're the father of, I mean, might as well just be full blown Margaret Sanger at this point, because like what have you, you know. And that's why this whole, you know, I used to be like, I was a Democrat and then I was a Republican and then I was like a real like, you know, like red pilled person, and then I was like F everybody, you're all scams, you're all a hoax, your whole lives are like, you know,
I'm at that stage right now, Marcos. That's the stage
uh,
I'm at.
but you know what, neither of you have my best interest, neither of you care. This two-party system is a hoax. It's the biggest stain on American democracy. You're the biggest perpetrators of death. Both parties are, quite frankly. There's no party that doesn't like advocate for some kind of mass murder. Um,
Yeah.
because when you think about it, like I see these images of these NICU babies in like Gaza and everything, and I'm like, how, if that does not burn your soul, like what will?
Yeah.
What will? And then when you think about it, like it, the Democrats, it burns their soul because they've never seen an aborted fetus, right? But then the Republicans, it doesn't burn their soul. Well, they say like, well, you know, pro-life from the womb to the tomb or whatever the hell, and then like, oh, like everyone's made in God's image and every child is beautiful. I'm like, well, then if every child is beautiful, then what? The NICU babies in Gaza are not beautiful? Like,
Right.
plain. Like, your outrage is fake. Your outrage is so fake.
Yeah.
These
That's
politicians,
the
are a bunch of fakes. They're all of them. Quite frankly, all of them. All of them. They're all scams. They're all fakes. Um, they should
I
all leave. And I think they should all like experience a little bit of what it's like to like live where there's raining bombs. Because if they did, they wouldn't advocate for the policies that they currently advocate for.
yeah. Doing to others as you have done to you. I think about it. I think about the golden rule, and I think about how these people in all countries are everywhere of all races, religions, cultures. They're all equal in value to me. I don't like it when people are arbitrarily choosing whether it's IVF, which embryo they think they is whatever graded, or
Look,
whether it's
for
yeah,
me, it could be IVF. For me, you could be go to abortion clinic. For me, you could be in the NICU. For me, you could be in, you could be at any age. It's wrong. It's completely wrong. Like the fact that you are advocating for the destruction of people in like babies in the NICU who are so malnourished that they cry every night. Their cries are heard like probably throughout the night. Like, can you think about that? Just imagine that for a bit. Like, that's insane. And then, like, you know, like all these other people, and then the silent cries of these women that, like, they're told, like, this is their only option when in reality, that's not. But honestly, our government makes it that way. It makes it their only
yeah.
option because
Well,
they deprive them of the resources that they need to succeed, like, and that they want. You know, so when the government is depriving you of everything, like, you have no choice basically but to choose destruction. Like, and sadly, like, women choose this, and to me, like they're more victims more than anything, you know. And that's why we need to advocate for policies, you know, like I live in a really restrictive state, Texas out of all things, um where, you know, it's basically banned. There's no It doesn't exist. But the, our schools are underfunded. We don't have paid family leave. Um, there's not even homes to buy if you want to have a family. Um, you know, WIC, WIC and
Right.
food stamps are being reduced, Medicaid's being reduced, Medicare is being reduced, like everything is being reduced. Like you're basically losing everything. And so when these families you know, they don't have anything, it's like I kind of empathize. I'm like, well, maybe abortion is their only solution, right? Maybe that's what that's what leads them to that. And so to
Well, yeah.
me, it's more of like I don't agree with you. And I hope you choose yourself first, regardless of the government's intervention. But I also empathize with you because this life is so horrible that you're being treated this way, where we literally have money for everything else. Well, we don't have money for everything else, but we always have money for war. And so that's the thing. Um, we have money to bank, you know, um, uh, pay out for these billionaires when they go bankrupt. We have money for you know sh- sending bombs and bombs and bombs and sustaining bombs too. We have like 5,000 nuclear warheads, and just I think it takes like 1 million to sustain one of those things a day, and we
Dude.
have 5,000. Like that's insane. It's literally insane that we have, like, you rather have warheads than maternal health care. That
Yeah.
is literally
I
insane.
mean, at a certain point, Marcos, I asked
Like,
myself the question.
you can't even use that thing because if you use it, literally the world would fall apart. And then you have it because God knows why. And then it's insane. And then we send weapons to countries that do have universal health care. And they have universal health care because they can afford it because they're not spending money on war. We're
Well,
spending
yeah,
their money.
but see, yeah, here's the thing: is yeah, these nuclear warheads, all these horrible weapons of mass destruction, basically. If they start using those, it does blow up the whole planet because then, you use that on this country and then that country or their ally countries are then going to
We're
bomb you and everybody it's like when a bunch of school kids all get into a fist fight, it starts with two people and then other people join in and then you have like 100 kids all beating each other up, and that's basically what it's like once people start using these weapons and countries start going to war with each other like that.
We're paying for an ornament. We're never going to use these things. Like, let's be honest, we're never going to use these things. We're paying for an ornament. We're paying $1 million a year to sustain these things for an ornament. Like, it's ridiculous that we even have 5,000. It's like, reduce it to two. One or two would definitely do it. Like, one will do the job. Like, these things are massive. And so the fact that you have 5,000, it's like, I come to think, I'm like, wow, 5,000. That's like $500 million that could be going to somewhere in this place, funding something that is actually
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Like,
well, and yeah, good, but like I'm saying that people's basic healthcare, I'm not even talking every possible medical service ever. I'm talking people ability to have, life-saving surgery, like whether it's heart surgery or whatever
I
else,
always,
and of
always
course,
think, I always think like when it comes to universal healthcare, like I can understand maybe not the entire bulk, right? Not the entire like, hey, everything is free. Maybe not that. And I don't ever think we'll get into that point in this country. Honestly, in my lifetime, never, I don't think.
no,
Um, but I do think that, when it comes down to primary care and like maternal health care, like those are things that we need to talk about. Because when you think about like primary care, like if you catch something early on, you're less likely to spend less money down the way. You spend more money when the problem gets worse.
right.
So when you catch something early on, which is having primary care, going to your primary care doctor, having, yearly visit and everything like that, yearly blood work done and everything like that, I mean, there's people that can't even afford that. That's the thing. And so, and then free maternal health care in this country. I mean, like, you should be able to give birth. If animals can give birth debt free, why do we have to pay? Like, that's insane. Like, that's what, like, if animals can do this for free, like,
Yeah.
why do I leave with like an 800,000, like $16,000 bill? It could be like from 10,000 for a vaginal delivery to like 18,000 for like a cesarean. It's insane. And then like that's if everything goes right. Like God forbid things don't go right, and then you have a hemorrhage or you have an emergency or things like that. It's like it's insane. It's insane. And people don't ask themselves these. They're just like, well, we need money because our like defense is so important. It's like, really, it's more important than the women giving birth. Like, ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself. Repeat that to a mirror. Like, get in front of a mirror. Ask yourself. That is more important
Yeah.
than these things. It's like,
Well, but here's the deal. I've asked myself this question because since people are living in such horrible conditions and people are dying because they don't have health care, and people are aborting their children that they wanted to keep but that they can't afford to, so they have abortions because it's cheaper to do that than to give birth. You know, if we're living in this kind of shithole we're living in, then why do we even have a military defense? Why do we even have it? Because would it, if we're all going to die anyway of starvation and healthcare because we're not getting the services we need because our money's being spent on wars, then maybe if another country does just come and wipe the US off the map, it's almost like at least that would put us out of our misery quicker rather than a long drawn out suffering. That's just kind of how I feel sometimes, you know?
I mean, yeah, like you can look, you can look at this quite different ways, but when it comes down to it, people need help. People are tired of like, and people are realizing, these midterms, I really do hope they go the other way because I am just tired of like this back and forth like thing. I'm not too optimistic that they'll go the other way. I don't know. I'm just
What
like
is
something
the
tells
other
me
way?
the other way means like the other side. Um, I just don't know. I just don't know. I really don't know. Like, both parties are just one party thinks that all the they have all the fame right now. Um and they have all, you know, everything. And then the other party is completely lost. Like completely lost. Like they don't even know where to stand. Um and so that's where we are in this country. We are in this space where we have two parties that could never see eye to eye. Never, I think as the years go by, they get more polarized. And it's becoming more of like they're not talking. Back then, you could say, we could talk. Now, you can't even talk. I mean, gosh, we just had I mean, I wouldn't say he's a Christian, but we'll say podcaster shot. Um, in broad daylight. So like we don't even talk anymore. Um, we don't engage in these conversations anymore. And if we do, like even if we try, like for me, like I'm telling you, I'm completely independent. Like I believe in progressive politics sometimes, I would say. Depends on the issue. Um, but other times, I'm just very like, I like to see policy by policy. I don't have a specific party that because I don't idolize people. It's not my
Yeah.
thing. I don't idolize um I don't idolize politicians. They're the people that I despise the most. The people that are the reason that we're in this mess. I don't idolize ideologies. I look at policy because idolizing things, first of all, it doesn't make you a Christian. You're already not a Christian if you're idolizing a specific person. And some people don't even wear a cross over their neck, but they don't forget their hat. Um, or
Yeah. Well, I agree. See, here's the thing is I don't idolize any person or political party or religion or anything like
and I
that.
think regardless of your religion, like you should not be idolizing people. Like
Mm.
these people are no one. Like they don't know you. They don't live by you. They don't know you. Like they don't literally they don't know you. They don't care about you. They don't like have your own like look at the things that interest you most. Ask yourself these hard questions like why are these people being this way? Um to me, these people are like they drive, you know, our conversations aren't based on logic anymore. They're based on rhetoric. And there's a difference. Rhetoric is tapping into someone's emotional um like aura, you know, like emotional response. Logic is using facts, right? Things like, hey, abortion should be banned because a child can feel pain in a specific trimester or something like that. That is fact, right? There's research that you can poise and you can listen, as opposed to like every human life deserves to live. That is rhetoric. That is a tapping into someone's emotional sense, right? That is not something that we need to be doing. We need to be laying out facts. And that's why, for me, I rather debate people on the factual, you know, like the actual textbook definitions, as opposed to, um, you know, um, this whole human life thing, whatever, what have you. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
like there is, because like we stop using logic and we just use rhetoric. And when we use rhetoric, we risk people misinterpreting that because they can't respond to it. And then we also risk like people becoming radicalized because of it. And so we have these two different things, and we I think we need to go back to choosing logic, because when you choose logic, it's clear what you're stating. Like there shouldn't be vagueness, um
Yeah.
very
I
clear cut, very very, you know as it should be.
yeah, a little bit. I just want to say a little something about, logic versus this emotion is I like objective facts. I like things that are reliable. I like things like math or the game of chess or computer programming. And the reason I enjoy those things is because we don't debate those things. And if you try to debate that 2 plus 2 is 4, then you're just having a nonsense conversation. And that's what's happening is people are doing all these emotional appeals, and they're trying to emotionally influence somebody, and then facts are just excluded entirely. So I agree.
Yeah, we're not factually driven. We're the rhetoric is, you know, again, like you can even just say this person that just passed away. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
mention his name because I really don't care. Um, like it doesn't really matter to me, um, who he was or what he was, or um the thing is that he's not here anymore, and that's really sad and that's a tragedy. But when you think about, this person wasn't saying facts, they were saying rhetoric. They were saying things that made them feel a certain way, or they were implying things that would tap into someone's emotional sense, right? And so when you're a college student, you're like very emotional as it is because you're a college student. Like that's what you are. And
Yeah.
so um when you use rhetoric, you get people that you know are angered by it because whatever rhetoric that was or anything like that, and then you have people that became more radicalized. And so that's where we stop, because rhetoric doesn't leave room for a response. It closes that. it shields basically any conversation to be had. And so when you are debating, you don't debate with rhetoric, you debate with facts, right? Like if you're debating something biblical, right? Like if you're having a biblical debate, you cite verses, right? This is what this means, or this is what this person said, or whatever have you, you know? For example, like when I'm debating the concept of um, um, fertilization and the creation, the formation, actually, not the creation, but the formation of a unique Homo sapien. Um, in this case, I am more than anything trying to justify that this is a human, that this is part of the human species, right? And so I'm not a lawyer. I can't state whether this person is a person because that's based on law. Whether someone is a person is based on the law. But I can point out that they are human beings because they're unique. They are, they have the potential um, for growth. Um, they don't just, they're not just a tumor and will always be a tumor. Um, they have a unique set of chromosomes. um, they're unique in every way. And so when you're debating, the concept of fertilization and the formation of a new human being, you need to lay out those facts, that they're a new human being because the DNA is unique like any other. Even amongst twins, their DNA is vastly different because you have epigenetic components. You have different um, you know, we're debating now on the process of fertilization and human development as opposed to like the value, right? So we attribute value based on law, right? And so I'm not really debating on whether someone is a person or not, but I can ask the question, if we can, what are the requirements for a person, you know? So like as a country, we have factually had requirements for people. They have to be a specific color, they have to be a specific orientation, they have to be a specific origin, they have to be a specific um, religion, they have to be a specific, um, I guess, not disabled. They had to be able-bodied. They had to be not white. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
white. They had to be white. I mean, they had to be all these things. Like we had requirements up and down the list, like you name it. And um, yeah. So I mean, personhood. I can ask the question like, if those are people, then what makes this person every different?
Well, yeah, that's where the fun lies, Marcos, because
Or
no matter which criteria you use to establish what your requirements for a person are, then you can always find how that is going to include people that are not being treated like people. You know what I'm saying? It's
mm,
like there's so many double standards, and the goalposts keep on moving of deciding who is a person and all that, and it's very bizarre.
I mean, you had Margaret. It's funny because you had Margaret Sanger say, a disabled child is like a burden, or these people. And it's so weird because Democrats right now, they're like the whole thing with Tylenol and everything. They're saying that like people with autism are not like a disease that they're meant to be like eradicated or cured or something like that. Um, it's funny to me because I find that so um, interesting because they're the ones that will literally justify women going in and slaughtering their Down syndrome baby. They'll
Yeah.
affirm that choice. But when it comes to autism and all these other things, it's like, no, why are we trying to erase autism? I'm like, we should not be trying to erase anyone. That's the thing. It's like you people are so feckless that you can't even like your argument falls apart because no one's believing you. Like I would believe you if you would like at least like the reason for not aborting your child is because they have Down syndrome.
Mm,
That's so ableist thinking. Like, it's ridiculous. And the fact that, I don't think autism needs to be cured necessarily. I think there needs to be um, assistance. Like, these people need help living out their daily lives, and they need the medical care that they require. But there's no fixing something. Like, it's like saying fixing Down syndrome. It's like, fixing what? What are you fixing? Like there's nothing to be
yeah.
fixed.
Well,
There,
yeah,
there-
here's the thing. As an autistic, let me comment on this, Marcos. As an autistic person here, let me what I think is instead of trying to fix autistic people so they can function in the normal cookie cutter way society expects them to function, instead, the unique strengths that different autistic people have to offer, they need to be put into places where they can use those. They can be put into jobs and activities where they can use what they are good at to the fullest extent rather than being constantly just have their lives wasted by people trying to fix them. And I like, for example, now I'm inspired by the story of Temple Grandin. She's famous. She's written some books. I don't agree with her on everything, obviously, but I just think that it's amazing what some people have been able to accomplish just by the challenges. And I feel like if we can make things easier for people with autism and other supposed disabilities, you find out they're more able than disabled in a lot of cases, I think.
and even if they are disabled, let's say, even if they are, that does not change their value. Like our value is not based on how abled we are. Like that's the thing. We need to realize that if someone needs help, they get help. That's the solution. The solution is not to cure them of anything, right? Like because in reality, I mean, it's more cognitive, more behavioral than anything, right? There's no strict solution. There's no, and I feel like when there's like we need a cure for autism. I'm like, we need a cure for that just seems so very vague to me. Like the word cure is kind of like you're not curing cancer. Like you're curing, how a person's personality is and how they are and how they function. And maybe they're we don't need a cure. We need accommodations, Like they need to be just like anyone needs to be accommodated. Like I mean, if you don't have legs, you need to be accommodated. Like, you know, if you don't have arms, you need to be accommodated. If you're a person with Down syndrome, you need to be accommodated. Like
Hmm.
more accommodations than anything. Like I think the problem here is that we're seeing people as mere things that need fixing when we don't see them as who they are, and rather than we try to fix them. It's like saying someone was trans, right? So like, oh, we need to fix them. I'm like, fix what? Like what do you mean? Like what do you mean fixing? Like fix like we need to fix them. Like I'm like, no, you need to stop being so mean and understand where they're coming from. Like, do you know what gender dysphoria is? Like, no, of course they don't. They never know what that is, but
Yeah.
they always know that they need fixing, right? Fixing from what? From nothing that they know. And then that's the thing. It's like when you come down to it, it comes down to yes, these are medical um, diagnoses, right? But they're not necessarily things that need to be cured. They're things that like just like anyone else with, let's say they're born blind, we have accommodations for them. They're not less human because of those accommodations, right? We just accommodate because that is a reality in this world. People are born with disabilities, and just because they're disabled or more abled, Um,
Yeah.
that
Well,
doesn't mean that they're less valuable.
and speaking of being equally valued, think about this, Marcos. If you look at the non-human animals and how humans treat some species of animals and how they treat humans by comparison, you'll notice that some people will treat their pet dogs and cats they have at home better treat them better than they treat their other humans. Have you ever noticed that? Like if you think about it, like somebody will have a cat. Now that cat will never work a job and earn money and probably won't speak English unless it's one of those cats on TikTok, yeah, that talks, but they value that cat, they love that cat, they feed that cat, and that cat didn't do anything to deserve it. And and then at the same time, they will literally go and kill humans, or they will kill other species of animals, like they think a cow is food, so they'll kill that. And they have not seen that people aren't even aware that they have tiers, arbitrarily defined tiers of what's valuable, which people are valuable, which animals are valuable. And I have tried to really reconcile that, to really look at it, and just think, well, why would I treat this person better than this person, or this animal better than this animal? Like I want us to view us as all valuable living beings. You know what I'm saying? Instead of having this hierarchy deciding, well, you deserve to die because of how you were born, you know?
Yeah, like to me it's just silly. It's silly that we're finding, cures for things that, I mean, obviously, like I'm not saying that, like there's just some things that don't need cures. There's some things that need accommodations. And I think that autism, Down syndrome, any other neuro um uh cognitive I guess, or behavioral condition, um, it needs accommodation. It needs understanding. It needs all these things. They don't need to necessarily um, be treated different. They need things that are going to help them be just like like they need things that are going to help them function uh, and be productive. You know what I mean? When it comes down to it, maybe they're good at something that they never thought of. Um, maybe they're good at. You just need to explore more. You need to do more digging, right? Like maybe these people are into. Um, some of them are more into like medicine. Maybe like you never know. Like there's autistic people in medicine, and you know you don't know if they're better than some of these other, better than me maybe. But there's more of accommodation as opposed to like fixing, you know. Like for example, like you can look at it like in the trans argument, like there's no fixing needed to be done. Like unless you're saying fixing is like gender affirming care, well then that's different. Like that's gender
Right.
affirming.
I agree with that one.
But that's gender affirming care, but that's different. Like that's not fixing, that's like affirming. And so I
Yeah.
what needs to happen with autism and Down syndrome and all these other, you know, conditions, normal human conditions. I want to say normal because they happen quite frequently. Like people are born with it all the time. Like
Yeah.
it's not abnormal. They're not any different just because it's not like the frequency is so low. Like no, it's the normal condition that people can be born with, and that's how it is. And they need accommodation, and that's how it should be treated. But the value doesn't change, so our value shouldn't change when it comes to anybody. Um, our value
Yeah.
remains.
Well, the way people are about people who are disabled and stuff like that, is the way that they make their lives continually harder, and society is still not structured for people. Like, just like you mentioned, the world is built for men, it's not built for women. Similarly, it's not built for people and who have disabilities, whether they can't hear or they can't see or they can't walk. It's just not, there's just not enough accessibility, enough accommodation for people to be able to function. But if you think about it, if accommodations are made, there's all kinds of amazing things that people can do, and you can even bypass their disabilities to enable them to do great things. For example, people who in wheelchairs who can't walk, their legs don't work, they can do desk jobs rather than having people who can walk be stuck in office jobs where they have to sit down all the time. Why not hire all the people who would be sitting anyway and give them something they can do at a desk? That's just one example of how people can be put in places where they can thrive.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I think that that's something, I mean, again, like both sides are just losing every single argument. As I see it, I'm just like, y'all are horrible people. To say,
Yeah.
like, you all don't really care about anybody, and don't give me this fake outrage of like, oh, it's because this is that. Like, no, like save it for someone who um like cares to like listen to the excuses, because I really don't care to like listen to like, especially politicians when they say all these lies and like it's like
Yeah. And this is actually a really good talk. It's a really good talk. And one thing I do want to say about the podcaster that we say was shot recently. I think what's interesting about that, much more than who he was and what he did, is the reactions people have and what those reactions tell you about their belief system. Because you have some people cheering and celebrating that he was shot, and then you have other people who were basically idolizing like he was perfect, and it's so sad that this perfect Christian man was shot. And I don't think either are the correct response, because it
like I think that the correct response should have been gun reform.
yeah.
I you want to honor someone that got shot literally on a college campus while talking about mid sentence about gang violence, um, gun reform. You know,
Right.
Republicans say, "Oh, well, it's because of mental issues." I'm like, "Well, mental health is like not funded well in America. So why aren't you proposing things that fund?" And again, they don't care about mental health. That's the excuse, is that they
Yeah,
say, "Oh, it's because of mental ill
it's a
people." I'm
red
like, "Oh,
herring.
if it's mental, then why aren't you funding mental health?" And then you ask Democrats like, "Well, it was because of his rhetoric." And I'm like, they have the freedom of speech to, whether I agree with him or not, like he has the mind to speak his own. I can, I will stab myself 1,000 times for someone to have the right to speak. Um, they should have not gone the way that they did. But unfortunately, that's the environment that we created here in America. You know, he even said, he's like, some lives are worth losing due to having our Second Amendment right. And that became true. Sadly, it was true. And it's tragic. And I think that the correct response of the federal government was to gun reform, first of all, assault weapons bans, like, universal background checks,
Yeah.
like things like this. Um, you know, you had not only him, but like you had these two children in a Catholic school, Catholic elementary school. Like,
Yeah.
it's horrifying that these things are happening in 2025. And the fact that like I said, I said it from the very beginning, this person is not going to be the beacon that everyone wants him to be. Like, this person just died and nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's basically what did happen. Is like nothing has happened. No one in Congress is um grown up enough to propose something. They're all feckless politicians that don't care about um their people. And sadly, someone got shot and lost their lives. And quite frankly, not just someone, a lot of people. A lot of people. And
Yeah.
he's one of thousands that have died. And
Exactly. Like, I feel like he got too much attention. The fact that there's all these people who are getting shot and nobody cared for gun
yeah,
reform then.
much attention he got. If he got zero, a lot, whatever. He wasn't that important to me. He wasn't that important. Like I really don't care. Um, it was tragic that he like every single death is a tragedy. Um, this person does not deserve God status. And if you're asking for my
Right.
opinion, I think he was
Nobody
well.
does.
No, because we're not that. And even the people that do deserve to be called saints, he was definitely not a saint. He was not a martyr. He was not I will say that his rhetoric was dangerous, and I don't agree with that. But regardless of whether his rhetoric was dangerous or not, he deserved to live, you know? So I will say that. And it is tragedy, but just like every single tragedy. I mean, think about it. Like these two children, like other people, the Minnesota lawmaker, um, just shot dead in her home. It's like, for what? Like, you know what I mean? Um, so when are we gonna see when is one death gonna be enough? When I'm very curious to see when that is, but quite frankly, I don't think that's gonna come. And at this rate, if this person being as godly as they claim to be didn't change anything, quite frankly, I don't think anyone's gonna change anything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if even a person like that is an influencer and a lot of people listen to, if their death doesn't doesn't cause any reform to happen, then most likely it would not change no matter who got shot.
Exactly. hmm Quite frankly, I mean, these things will continue to happen because we lack the basic fundamental knowledge that guns in the wrong hands um, do do a lot of weird things. And then like for example, like I was not even his case, but like for here in El Paso, we had a shooting where a white supremacist came here and shot 23 Mexicans, Hispanics, and it was a white supremacist because it was found that he hated Hispanics, and he wanted to kill us. And that is the truth. That is, and he had a weapon that, with an assault weapons ban, this could have been prevented, right? But we don't have an assault weapons ban. And so things like this happen. But quite frankly, they're going to continue to happen. And it's just on us to keep able to continue to, you know, propose life affirming policies because like these are life affirming policies. Like, you know, no one should be fearing for their life from a gun. Like that is the most pro life thing. And that's just one of many, right? Like like we were talking about, like adoption reform, gun reform, paid family leave, and at least maternal free healthcare. Like I think those top three things are the most pro life things out there. But like when you think about that, those are the least of anyone's um, concern or priority.
Yeah, and it's really sad too also that a lot of people are very closed-minded and emotional, and they won't even listen to the conversation because they hear someone's pro-life and they just think, oh well, abortion is a right, so they're not even going to listen. They're not going to work with the pro-choice people. Could work with the pro-life people on the areas they agree on these other life and death issues. If they were smart, they could do that. But instead, it's almost like they just take your position on abortion and then they're just like, "Oh, well, you're a bad person. I'm not listening to you. I'll shoot you." You know what I mean? That they have this emotional reaction, and it's not logical. And but here's the thing: is the reason it like let me tell you something. The reason that I find the abortion topic very interesting, even though our conversations probably haven't made much of a difference, I could be wrong on that, but I feel like it really connects with so many other life issues, so many other ethical issues that connect with the abortion thing. And we've talked about the causes that lead women to abortion. You know, all the reforms that could happen if people were having the right conversations. And so basically, it's I would say that it's interesting because it does lead into politics and economics and religion and ethical frameworks. It connects to so many issues, and that's part of why it's worth talking about. Because if all it was like, oh well, abortion is murder, let's ban abortion, and that was the end of it, that would not be good. I like that this has allowed us to have this conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, and also I would just like to mention a little disclaimer that just as Jason had mentioned in my interview I did with him, like the Rainbow Pro Life Alliance as a group doesn't take a position on a lot of these other issues. Like there's not an agreed upon position on the death penalty or euthanasia or foreign policy or whatever. The fact is we have disagreed and we've even had a few fights in the past. I'm sure you remember, and it wasn't very good. Fortunately, we have learned to get along again, but but we don't agree. Well, we focus mostly on the abortion topic, but we each have our own personal views that are worth discussing. And I feel like, in my opinion, that's one of the primary reasons for us to do these podcasts, like what we're doing right now, so that people can get to know the whole person, who we are as people, our different positions, and have those conversations that need to be had. Would you agree with that?
Of course, yeah. Like I think that having this like open kind of not being afraid of like anyone can say anything pretty much, and um you know it's gonna be there. Like I don't always agree with everyone, but when that's why civil discourse exists and we need to have dialogue. And I was very different growing up. um I got red pilled in college, and then I left, and then my views constantly change, so there's the constant evolving me. And then there's a call, I mean, everyone's constantly evolving and thinking critically. So I think if you engage in critical thinking, you're going to be the best version of yourself. And yeah, I mean, I've as a former like club member, like club organizer and things like that, like I've learned to have discussions with people that probably hate my guts. um I was very um cordial with the club presidents of Planned Parenthood and the reproductive justice groups in on campus. So those were always very interesting interactions. And one time, they came over, and you're like, we heard your conversation, and we do believe in different things, or we do believe in the same problem. We just believe in different ways of getting there. And I think that that's something that speaks volume, right, to someone that was leading a Planned Parenthood group and things like that, to me, who was leading my SFLA group. um, I learned to uh, see people for who they are, and you know try to understand where they're coming from and things like that. And so I basically, would tell them like, hey, like, it doesn't matter. We have different ways of thinking, but that's fine. We can, I'm sure there's things that we do agree on, and we can always talk about those things and how they're different. They're like I would say like, don't you think that there should be parking spaces here for pregnant women that do choose to carry with their term pregnancy? And they were like, yeah. And, something that was, you know, I had to use different language, of course, right? That I would not agree with, right? If they choose. But it was something that we agreed on, right? And so I think when it comes down to it, um, there are people out there that don't agree with you, but they're willing to make a little to make it happen. Um, And so some things that I would say is like, hey, like we might not agree that, the route to take, but we can at least agree that someone should have been able to walk to class being pregnant if they choose to be pregnant and remain pregnant. Is
Hmm.
that not the case? Um, and they were like, yeah, we agree with that. So there were things that we ultimately like to see. And I think that those are one of those things. I think that, you know, um, like when we would collect diapers and things like that, like, oh, we're collecting diapers for people that choose to have babies. Um, you know, it was very different wording, but it was much received. It was well received. And so I think that when you realize like you're not always enemies and sometimes you can be maybe you won't see eye to eye, but you'll lock arm in arm, you know? And so that's fine, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I was just thinking about how we may see somebody as our enemies, but there's also the expression that an enemy of my enemy is a friend. And if you think about the common enemies that we face, even with the pro-choice side, people who like us may disagree on abortion or other life issues, but they may care about freedom of speech. They may care about gun reform. They may care about these things like school lunches and maternity leave. That's the thing is it's if we can find common ground sometimes and work with these people instead of seeing them as our enemies, see them as allies against the people who are taking rights away and making things harder for people.
Yeah,
Good talk. I think we said everything, didn't we?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm really tired, but I'm glad I got up for this.
Okay. No, go to sleep, Chastity.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to sleep. Thank you very much for joining me, Marcos.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
See you
you
soon.
have a nice night.
All right, bye.
Bye.